Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Hi. Hi, Dr. Shalee. Good to see you. Good evening. Glad you are here with us this evening. We have a great session because you are here also. Wasn't that a great keynote? That was awesome. I was sharing that one of the great things that I heard. I mean, there are a lot of great things, but one of the things that I am really going to take with me is that we have a tapestry of help. And I think about that tapestry, and that is wonderful. So, we're going to talk about today just family fusion. How are we really having those nurturing partnerships and cultivating connections? I know that a lot of you are probably already doing that, but how can we get even better at what we're doing? My name is Kathy Wilson. I know you all have our bios and all that kind of thing, but I will let you know that I work in Elk Grove Unified School District in our Family and Community Engagement Department. I teach community college and I work in our early learning department at the Sacramento County Office of Education. So, this is our agenda today, just introductions and inclusion activity. Did the introduction already. What is culture? So I want you to start thinking about that. Okay. And ways that we communicate. How do we really communicate with our families? And then also, what are some communication strategies and resources? And then how do we celebrate? How do we celebrate our connections? And as we're going along, I want you to think about all of these in the context of STEM. Thinking about how, and STEAM, how are we talking about these in terms of science, technology, education, art, and math with our families? I know you have a resource tab, and what I've done is I have included a Padlet for you, and the Padlet is like a giant bulletin board, and there are information pieces on there. There is a couple of handouts that I have on there for you that you can access when we go along. All right, so I'm going to let you know that I have had a long day. Actually, I really started my day this morning at 5 a.m. with the gym, and then I went to work about 7. So I just want us to do some mindful breathing. And what I want us to do is it's something called the double inhale. And what it is you inhale 80% and then you inhale the rest of the 20% with your nose, and then you just a long exhale out of your mouth, just to get us all grounded. All right. So let's just do that with each other a couple of times. I'll model it for you. You just breathe in, and then you breathe in the rest of the way, and then you have a long exhale. Inhale 80%, inhale another 20, and then blow out. One thing I know that we as early childhood educators need to do is really take care of ourselves. So I really want you to do that while we are together this the next 50 minutes. Take some breaks. Don't look at your screen and for a couple of seconds and then look back. All right, so here we go. So our first thing we're going to do is called opening moves. And what I'm going to ask you to do is I want you to think about we're going to go into a breakout room. And I just want you to think about how do you communicate with your families? And how do you know that it's effective? How do you communicate with your families? And how do you know that it's effective? And then when you're going to go out, you're going to talk about 4 to 5 minutes. And then when you come back, I want you to just flood the chat. And I also forgot to tell you, as we're moving along, I want you to use the reaction buttons, the chat as much as you can. All right. So, how do you communicate with all families? And how do you know that it's effective? All right. Also, thinking about STEAM and STEM. All right. We're going to go ahead and take you to breakout rooms for 4 to 5 minutes, and I'll see you when you get back.
Okay, just so you know, they are in their breakout rooms now.
Okay. I can't see anybody. Am I supposed to see people?
I can change it so that you can see them if you'd like. Do you want to see like their pictures or
Are they all off?
it's based off of the view. Let me see.
Which
My view, side by side, attendee view.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. No, I don't need to see them. I'll just keep
Okay.
going. Okay, cool. Everything's good though.
Yes. And then
Okay.
if you wanted to go into the breakout rooms, I don't know if you want to, you can click on breakout rooms and then you can just join any of them.
No, I don't want to get lost. I'm good.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the backstage then.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Oh, Terry says she needs to get to a breakout room. Hi, Terry. We'll get you put in a breakout room in just a minute, I think. All right, Adriana, can you get Terry into a breakout room? Oh, she might be already be in there. All right, how can Nora get in there? Hi, Nora. Glad you're here with us. I think Adriana will put you in a breakout room, Nora. Oh, Terry, I don't know. You should be able to go into a breakout room. What you need to do is you might have to move your screen like to the left or to the right, and then you should see an icon that says breakout room or join breakout room. Okay. Yeah, Nora, I needed those deep breaths too. That's something too. I'm going to come back and share that. That's something you could do with your kids and share with your families that you work with as well. It's a great it's a great way to get more um, oxygen in and to exhale. Uh-oh. Adriana, some rooms only have one person in them.
Yes, I think I saw something about someone getting disconnected, so I think they get they're shifting because some of them have zero now and they had people in there before. So I'm gonna go
Okay.
through and move single people back into a breakout room.
All right. Thank you. I
No
was like,
problem.
yes. Mm.
Okay, we finished with the 4 minutes, but I think maybe one more minute for those people who were moved in a little bit later.
Okay. Also, how do I know when the breakout rooms are done? Will people just
I can let you know. Um,
Okay. Okay. Because I
if you
can't.
open up the breakout room button, if you click on that, it should show you.
It
Um,
doesn't show me how much time is left.
oh, they don't have an automatic timer. I have it on my phone.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Cool. That's fine. Yeah. If you could just let me know.
Okay.
So
Yeah, we have
there.
about 30 more seconds.
Okay. Cool. Oh, see, I did quit yawning.
You
That's
saved it. Good job. Yeah. Yeah, I just moved everyone into breakout rooms, but it looks like there's a couple more that just got moved into their own room again. I don't know if they're leaving and rejoining or
who
yeah,
I
'cause
don't.
yeah,
I'm
it's
not sure.
automatically assigned, so I don't know why they got moved into
So,
their own.
right? Yeah, that's weird.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm gonna close them right now.
Okay. Thanks. All right. Welcome back. So, in the chat, what did you all talk about? How do you communicate? Oh, Martha. Sorry, we were trying. You know what happened? Some people were moving and getting kicked out. Next breakout room. Hopefully you'll be in there with someone. All right. So, how do you communicate with all families, and how do you know it's effective? You too, Diana. Maybe you and Martha need to be in a room together, right? Okay, we'll get it straight now. Like I said, some people are going to bake. You too, Alejandro. Okay, sometimes what happens is we put you in the breakout room, and other people get kicked out in some form or fashion. All right, so you check in. Yeah, text opportunities to build relationships, to find out their needs, checking in with them. All right. Always greet the parents and children. Yeah. Care Connect. I've not heard of Care Connect, Desiree. I'm gonna have to write that one down. All right. All right. We'll get those. Even if you were in a room all alone, how do you communicate with families, right? All right. Learning Genie, Class Dojo, Parent Hub, family at daily family activities, right? At school and update them. Learning Genie. Right. So you all have all these Parent Square, you support teacher resources in person, beautiful papers and yes. And that's, Kristen, that's really important that we make sure that we have we're meeting our family's needs in terms of language needs, right? Yes. Validating their feelings, newsletters, emailing, beautiful, beautiful. All right, so a lot of the things that you talk about, we're going to talk about today, but we're going to add to some of those things as well. So as you can see what's going on in the chat, if you don't do some of those things, you might want to just jot those down, right? And try those. And if you are doing them, how can you do them even better? Okay. So I really want us to really think about, why did we choose those ways and forms of communication? And how do we like to be communicated with? So I'm just going to ask you just to think about this. And I want you to really think about that intersectionality of, who you are. I want you to reflect on your own cultural background. What did you do when you were younger in terms of family communication with your own family? And then I want you to think about, in your work, how do you um, really think about who you are and how do you use that as an advantage to how you communicate with your families. As you can see, this is really thinking about that self-examination and self-awareness. It comes from one of our documents, Family Partnerships and Culture, and actually you have that resource on our Padlet. I want you to really think about that intersectionality. Um, you might be an aunt. You are a teacher. You are a colleague, right? You might be a son or a daughter. I really want you to just think about, who are you and how does that really affect the way that you communicate with your families? I also want you to think about your likes and your dislikes and maybe what some of your button pushers are and how you are really communicating with our families. So I want you just to think about now, what is your definition of culture? And I will let you know there is not one right or wrong way in terms of the definition of culture. So, what is your definition of culture? Go ahead and share that in the chat. Customs, beautiful. What else? Behaviors, right? Behaviors of who? Yes, the ways of being, values, rituals, people coming together as one, family traditions. My definition of culture is people from different backgrounds of life. Yes, the uniqueness that we all have, community values, norms and values, custom traditions and values, understanding of someone that's different. Yeah, traditions. Yeah. And I think about it, everything that you're saying here, and I just think about, it's the rituals and routines, right? That we have for culture. And culture can be different things. You can have culture, just like Nora says, of how you were brought up. And then sometimes your culture may change depending on who you are and who you are around, right? Learning new things. Yes, it could be the language and holidays as well. And just for today, this is again from Family Partnerships and Culture. And this is essentially what definition of culture we're just going to use. But like I said, everything that you've put in the chat, spot on. So it's all facets of life, values, behaviors, ideas, all of our thoughts, right? And how we are. Okay. So as we go along, thinking about the culture, do you know specifically about every single student's culture in your classroom? And if you are working with adults, do you know about their culture, right? And how, and the other part is vice versa. Do your families know about some of your cultural beliefs and some of the things that you do? And do your colleagues you work with, do you know? I'm going to say that relationships are key. And so that's one thing that we really need to think about when we're really thinking about communicating with our families and communicating with each other. So, in our family partnerships and culture, there is this page, and you have it too on your Padlet. And we really talk about dimensions of culture. And so, we know that families, cultures, and our cultures too, or culture in general, is complex and it's influenced by a lot of factors. So, and these are some of the factors here. On that document that you have on your Padlet, it really explains what some of the dimensions of culture are. So, I want you just to think about the families that you're working with. Again, if they're the students in your class and their family, or if you are working with the adults, do you know what is that family structure? What does it look like? And I'm talking about not only the families or the people who live in the household, but what does that structure look like? Is it that you have to? I know when I worked in Del Paso Heights School District, and I work with a lot of our Hmong families, I had to make sure that I asked the men first about having the women like help out at school. And that was just some of our Hmong families. But do you know about that family structure? What are their definitions of childhood? And how do they look at childhood? Is it okay for children to play and get dirty? Or can children play and not get dirty? What are their socialization goals for their children, right? Is it communal or is it individualistic? So just thinking about all of these dimensions of families and culture, um, what do you know and what do your families share with you? We are going to watch a video next, and I really want you just to think about what you hear in terms of dimensions of culture in the video. So again, we got gender roles going down the list, identifying and identity, individualism, spirituality, social expression, as well as social class. So this video comes from one of the websites that I put on a resource all about young children. And it's a family, it's from Oakland, and they're talking about the physical development of their children. So again, I really want you, as you're watching the video, I want you to think about what they talk about in terms of family structure, um, definitions of childhood, socialization goals, child rearing practices, gender roles, identity, individualism, spirituality, emotional expression, as well as social class. All right, here we go.
My son just learned how to ride the tricycle. He just got on and started going, and now when I get home, he goes up and down the street over and over, and it's just, he's so proud of himself, and I think just it's so helpful for them to get out and do that kind of stuff, get that energy out, and I think just feel so confident in, you know, being able to use their bodies to do what they want.
So I remember just seeing my son just like jump off of stuff, and I'm like, yeah, that's right, jump off of that, take a little chance. And I just hear my wife saying, Micah, be careful. And I'm like, no, let him, he knows he needs this. You know, like, he needs this, you know. And I now see it now, and he's just like, Dad, check this out. He gets up there and he's jumping down. He's like, and I'm like, I should have took heed to the cautions of my wife. You know what I mean? Like, okay, maybe he wasn't a little too early for him to jump, and like, but he's exploring, right? He's seeing, yeah, look, I can do this. You know, I know my body. You know, my limitations. So, yeah.
It's a good point.
I think I'm too scary when it comes to motor and development, because, like, my daughter, it's just furniture everywhere, and every time she tries to climb up on something, I'm like, oh no, please, because it just scares me. But now I'm a little more looser since she's been in childcare. She knows how to climb up on stuff and how to get stuff down, how to close the door, how to balance herself. And she has a car and like a little tricycle now, so she tries to do things, and I'm a little more lenient, but I think I'm still like on the edge, like, okay, be careful. I'm like right behind her. I don't know. My mom was like, that girl's never gonna fall, you know, because I'm always on her heels, like, no, please don't fall. I think it hurts me more than it hurts her. So I'm just a little more cautious, but slowly letting her do her thing so she'll learn one day. So
It seems like you're learning from observing her, that as you watch her, you begin to understand what she's capable of, and you feel more confident.
It scares me because I don't know. Like, I don't know if she's going to fall, or can you really do that? So now she's older, so I'm like, oh, you can do that. So it's just interesting. It's a learning experience for both of us. She looks at me like, hey, just let me live. And so it's interesting.
I think for me, my son was born with a condition called spina bifida. So walking, he's delayed in walking. And really happy, really beautiful thing happened just about 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks back. So usually we just either on the stroller or we carried him, right? And we just recently got in one of those little wagons so he's been walking a lot more. He's wearing his braces, so just the pride. So just the identical pride that any child that doesn't have spina bifida would have. And we just traded that one in for one of those little shopping carts, and he had just been taking off. And so just about 3 weeks back was the first time he got out of the car seat by himself, got out of the car in the parking lot of Trader Joe's, and we walked from the parking lot of Trader Joe's across Lakeshore Avenue into the Gap store so I could change him. But he just did it, and like I didn't care if cars were beeping, I didn't care. It was like, but that was the first time he did it all by himself. And then this crazy thing, because he really loves swimming, and I had the same fear of falling, fear of getting hurt, fear that he's going to get hurt with me, and what's mom going to say. But I changed my language too, and I think I just deal with language a lot. So I try to stop saying, be careful, to like pay attention. Because even when you pay attention, things are going to happen, you know. So trying to get away from the fear component of it, to just pay attention to your surroundings. But what I'm trying to say is be careful, because I don't want him to fall or hurt himself or anybody else. But I put him in water, and then that disability, it disappears because he's just flapping his arms and his his legs, and we walk by the lake, so we see the ducks and the geese and go, see, that's what you're doing, that's what you've been doing, and that kind of stuff. But it's beautiful how on land he will be considered a child with a disability, and then you put him in water, and it's just like anybody else. So it's really beautiful how different environments, equalize disabilities and stuff like that. And then even in climbing, because climbing, once you start climbing, then you're just like anybody else. You might as well not be able to walk because you're like crawling on that rock, even like the rock I'm thinking over there by Lake Merritt, like the moon rock. Kids that can walk, climb the rock the same way that he climbs it. So it's beautiful how you take them out of a walking environment and then equalizes. So it's really beautiful.
I think it's also too to be careful about like self-imposing our own fear on the kids, like, cause they feel it when we're like scared, and it's like, oh, I'm not gonna try that again. My mom's scared, my dad's scared. I'm not gonna take this chance. It's like, like I like the whole pay attention. I'm gonna use that, like, hey, pay attention to that one, instead of, oh, well, it's close one, buddy. Be careful. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So.
Isn't that beautiful? That's beautiful to really see those families who are who are sharing and talking and really know their kids. And I think everybody does. So just thinking about what we saw, right? Um, Thinking about the dimensions of family and culture, family structure, definitions of childhood, socialization goals, childbearing practices, gender roles, identity, individualism, spirituality, emotional expression, social class. So I just think about, we need to know about the ways of being and doing that our families have for their children. And so then we think about too, how does this play into our classroom? Do we ask, how do you see your child learning? And then are we setting up those environments to really promote that learning that we know that our families see in their children and the ways that they feel like their children are learning? Thinking about those dimensions of culture that we saw. And then, really thinking about how are we doing that with STEM? How are we doing that with STEAM? What are our families' attitudes towards science, technology, engineering, art, math? Growing up, well, my dad was an accountant. Well, he took accounting, I should say, but he worked for the state banking department, so he was great with numbers. And I wish that my teachers had known that so that they would have really encouraged me. So when we're thinking about the dimensions of culture, here are some strategies that we can do to ensure that we are finding out from our families how best do you see your child learning. Just we need to really take time and learn about each family's culture. We always talk about, learn first, teach second. So listen and learn, observe, ask questions, and then really approach learning with an open mind. And our keynote really talked about that sense of wonder. So we should also, and I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir now, but we should also have that um, open mind, not only when we're talking with our children, but also when we're talking with our families. All right. So now we're going to talk a little bit more just about family partnerships. I know you put in the chat earlier how you communicate with all families. Now, I want to know, what is your definition of family partnerships? What is your definition of family partnerships? What is your definition of family partnerships? Engagement. All right. When they ask if they can donate items or if we need them. working together with families to meet their needs and service and with their children's growth, validation. Okay, good, good. Working as a team, yeah. Working together, sharing goals and ideas and strong communication, providing resources, working together with parents, communicating with them in meetings, working with teachers, yes, to meet their goals. Yes, yes. Open communication. Do we ever go the other way as well and say, I have this need. Do you know anyone or do you have any resources? Having that true two-way, right? Communication, right? Meeting the needs of the school, meeting the needs of children, and also um, asking the families, what do you need, right? Building those relationships. And that's the number one thing that we need to make sure that we're doing. So I just have a few questions for you. What does family engagement and family partnership mean to you, which we just talked about? And, how does your understanding compare to what your families think family engagement and communication are? Have you ever asked them? And if you have, how do you know? Right? And then again, I'm going to put, what questions have you asked? All right, so let's keep moving on. So here is Head Start's philosophy on family partnerships. And it really just talks about that, family partnerships and program stuff, it's ongoing, it's reciprocal. And I really love how they talk about that two-way communication, right? And so, do we ever ask our families, how would you like to be communicated with? Um, I work with a lot of schools and administrators. And so that's my question. It's like, how are you communicating with families and first? And then how do you know that it's effective and that's the way that they want to do? And then how is it two-way communication too? So just thinking about too, how do you discuss and communicate just any domain area with your families, but especially STEM and STEAM? How are you building those family partnerships? Well, I'm sure you are doing a great job. I just have a few resources that I would like to share with you. So, Dr. Karen Mapp, is one of the 4 leaders of family school partnerships. And this document is the dual capacity framework. And this is on the Padlet for in your resources. And I love this because at the top it talks about, what the challenge might be. What are some of the essential conditions that we really need to make that family partnership, that two-way communication optimal? What kind of policy and program goals should we have that can help with that, right? And then what is that capacity outcome? So if you look at the challenge, you can see that, sometimes educators, have we ever been trained on family and community engagement? Have we ever explicitly been trained? I know when I first started teaching, I wasn't, right? And so what we need to do is just think about too, our families. Do they have examples of what family engagement might look like? Because my idea of family engagement may not be somebody else's idea of family engagement, right? A lot of our families may not feel invited to contribute to their child's education. And I want to say that it really starts early in early childhood because I know when my children were in high school or secondary, I should say 7th through 12th grade, a lot of parents kind of dropped off, but we need to be there all the time. And we need to really share this with our families as well. So there are some essential conditions that must be present. That relational, which is built on trust, that links to learning, that collaborative, that interactive. And I have an icon for you a little bit later. It's what we use in our family and community engagement department. And then some of the organizational conditions. It needs to be embedded. Family engagement, that two-way communication needs to be embedded in everything that we do. And so then when we move over to the policy and program goals, really looking at those 4 C's, those funds of knowledge, that capabilities, those skills and knowledge that our families have, the connections that they may have, or the connections that we may have, right? Those networks, right? And then that cognition, a lot of times, shifts in beliefs and values. So sometimes when our families come and they think about their schooling experience and the way their families may have interacted with the school when they were growing up, it may not be as positive. So then, how are we having that shift? All right. How are we helping them with that? And then you all as educators, you're empowered to engage with families as co-creators of the curriculum, co-creators of what goes on in that in the classroom on a daily basis. Also making sure that we are welcoming all cultures and that all cultures feel welcome no matter who they are. All right. And then at the bottom, it talks about how families are engaged, the orange. We're co-creators, they're supporters, they're encouragers, right? And so this is just one aspect of the framework for family and community engagement. So we're just going to see a short video. It's about 4 minutes long, and it's all about just the four core key beliefs. And so as we watch the video, I just want you to jot down what four core beliefs that you hear, which ones resonated with you? What are you already doing? And if you're not doing it, what can you start doing? And if you're already doing it, how can you even make it better? Okay, so let me go ahead and start the video on the next slide. Again, what are the 4 core beliefs that Dr. Karen Mapp is talking about?
When Ann Henderson and I co-authored the book Beyond the Bake Sale, we decided to focus an early chapter on the values and the beliefs necessary to build strong, lasting partnerships between home and school. We learned from school leaders who were skilled in the area of family engagement that it took knowledge, skill, but also a certain disposition and set of values to do this work well. Using what we learned from these practitioners, we identified 4 core beliefs necessary to cultivate partnerships. First, all families have dreams for their children and want the best for them. It is vital for educators to understand that families who send their children to them each day want their children to succeed in school and in life. Yes, families might say or do things that lead us to think otherwise, but these actions and behaviors are often triggered by stressful factors in their lives and do not reflect their innermost feelings about the importance of education and their desire for their children to become happy and successful adults. Second, all families have the capacity to support their children's learning. Regardless of how little or how much formal education they may have, or what languages they may speak, all families contribute to their children's learning. Families' knowledge, talents, and life experiences give them plenty of capacity for assisting their children with school skills, and practitioners need all that information to design the best learning opportunities for those children. Families have knowledge that should be respected, utilized, and developed by school staff. The expression, parents are their children's first teachers, is so widely used it's almost a cliche. If we believe it, we need to view and treat parents as the experts that they are. Third, parents and school staff should be equal partners. All stakeholders supporting children's development should have equal status, value, and responsibility. That means starting from the premise that everyone has something to offer and that everyone should get something positive out of the relationship. And finally, the responsibility for building and sustaining partnerships between school, home, and the community rests primarily with school staff especially school leaders. Now, you might see a contradiction between this and the belief in equal partners. If we're equal partners, why does this responsibility rest with school staff? Well, as mentioned by Kaya Henderson, Nancy Hill, and Sue Hung, many families see schools as powerful and forbidding institutions. The school leader and staff must take the first step, especially when families already feel intimidated. Certainly, there is a responsibility on both sides, and families must connect with teachers and other school staff on behalf of their children. Everyone who works in the school, especially the school leader, must walk the walk, not just talk the talk, of mutual partnership. This means exhibiting a real passion for partnership. For the practitioners in this audience, do these core beliefs resonate with you? Which ones push you out of your comfort zone? For the parents and other caregivers, what has your experience been? Do these feel fundamental to you? Would you add anything else? As you continue on your journey, I hope these core beliefs guide you along the way.
I just love listening to Karen Mapp. I could listen to her all day. So these are the core beliefs. Which ones resonate with you? You can just put a number in the chat. I want to also think about or share that, sometimes we have families, or you might have those kids that, you say, I love all the kids, right? But sometimes you don't like them. I need to cover my mouth for saying that. Sometimes might be slow button pushers. We don't know. I know that I did a workshop a few weeks ago, and I had a teacher say to me, I just don't understand. The parents just drop the kids off and they don't stay. And I was like, wow, but you need to find out what's happening, what's going on, right? And she kind of had an attitude about that family. So then I asked her, I said, well, what type of relationship do you have with that family? And she looked at me and she was like, oh. And then how do you know if you do have a good relationship with the family? How do you know? Have you asked the family? Yeah, I love all of these questions, but I'm like, have you ever asked your families, what are your dreams for your children? I had a home visit while my kids were in high school, and they asked that question. And it was so interesting because I had a different idea of what dreams I had for my children than my husband. My husband was just like, I wanted them to get good grades. And I guess he was just thinking about school at that time. But I was thinking about, I want my children to get good grades. Yes. I also want them to be good citizens and be caring and loving anyway, and all that. All right. So these are great. So these are some things that, you might want to just think about, as well as, add to your repertoire as you move forward. So as I said, this is the icon that Karen Mapp talked about, just about what we have in our school district in terms of our family and community partnerships. We think about that relational. That's number one. What kind of relationship? How are we collaborative with our families? How are we developmental? How are we meeting families where they are, right? How do we make sure that what we're doing with our families is interactive, and it's just not one way, and us asking them to bring stuff, and then everything that we do needs to be linked to learning, needs to be linked to a domain, needs to be linked to whatever that focus might be, or finding out what our families focus on. So we need to make sure that we are planning for cultural responsiveness for teaching and learning. This is found also from our family partnerships and culture, which you have the entire document in the Padlet. So I have a video. It is a 6-minute video. We're not going to have time to watch the whole thing, but I'm going to just show a couple of minutes of it. And it's about a parent, and she's really just talking about the relationship that um, that that is so important, that she had or has or needs to have with her child's teacher. Okay.
Training right in St. Louis, and I came back late last night, and my children were so excited to see me that they did not want to go to sleep. So my 3-year-old sneaks out of the bed, goes into the bathroom, and turns on the radio. I did not know he knew how to do this. He turns the radio, puts the music up loud, and yells, "Dance party!" And him and his sister both get in the bathtub with no water and have a dance party. So I'm like, okay, it's time to go to bed. So you would think I would turn off the radio and say, everyone back to the bed. But I didn't. I started dancing too. Because I couldn't beat them, so I was like, I might as well join them, right? And so I was thinking about this morning because I'm a parent and I work and I have classes and I do all this other stuff. And so a lot of teachers and parents can never meet to communicate because parents are in so many different directions and so are teachers. So what I'm going to talk a little bit about is my own personal experience as a parent and some of the work that I've done as a parent and education organizer in the city, and just share how some of the parents have really, teachers have spoke to me with some of the things that they've done to make me be able to know what's going on in my child's classroom. And I'll also talk about the work that I've done as an organizer to have parents and teachers be on the same page to advocate for resources. So my 3-year-old, the dance party guy, well, he just started preschool this year, and his teacher gave us a survey to fill out at home to bring back. She wanted to learn more about my son. She asked questions about his personality. She asked questions about the way that he learned. And for me, while I was completing the survey, I thought about, well, how does he learn? And what is his personality? And how is he going to be in this new learning environment? So it did 2 things for me. It made me think about how I was going to be able to reinforce what was happening in school at home. But it also made me think of his personality and how he was going to be now that he was going to be entering into the school system. And I thought, oh man, I'm going to have to volunteer at school because my 3-year-old's got a really big personality, and I feel really sorry for his preschool teacher. But I really appreciated how she used this medium where she didn't have to stop and talk to me, but she sent something home and I was able to send back. And then when we do have an opportunity to talk, we can touch bases about those things that she's expecting from me and the things that I'm expecting from her.
So I'm going to stop it right there and just think about what this parent needed, what this parent wanted, right? And the way that the teacher unknowingly but wittingly got that in terms of sending home a survey. How is your child? And then it made the family or the parent, the mom think, okay, how is my child? All right. This is also on our Padlet. So if you want to watch the whole video, you can. What we talked about earlier, we talked about People Said newsletter. I will share with you Talking Points is a communication app. It's kind of like Class Dojo, but it has over 100 different languages, and it's Class Dojo sometimes is associated with discipline and things like that. This one is not, and it helps with that two-way communication. It can help. It's also a computer app. So anyway, phone calls, text, videos, attend community events. So do we attend community events of the children in our classroom? Do we provide home visits? Do we ask our families what? So you just think about other form of communications that we may have. And so, last question. I'd like to know, is there something that you will add to or how will you enhance your practice for family fusion? All right, so if you want to go ahead and start putting that in the chat, we have about 30 seconds to finish up. What will you add to or how will you enhance your practice for family fusion? I love that. Yes, ask parents how they want to be involved. It's time to check in with our parents. Yes, and see what they need. Good. I love that reflective thinking. That's one of the things that is so powerful in education, that reflection. And maybe doing it on a ongoing basis, right? Increase questions about the need and maybe send it as a text, right? Where they can just click on the answers, right? Check in with parents and ask them how they want to be involved. All right. So keep putting things in the chat, and I am going to let you know that it is time to stop our webinar. And I just want to tell you all, thank you so much for being here with me. All right. Uh, Adrian, I'm gonna need some help. I forgot how to send everybody back.